Hey, of course, I don't agree with this person entirely, but he does make efforts to role model rational behaviors and thinking using reason. He's talking about Jordan B. Peterson here. Here's what I wrote. I said, I've done a few vlogs about the worrisome decline of Jordan's mind myself, even tried to get his daughter to help him. But his many fans will always defend the acceleration of his pathologies, perhaps simply because he mirrors their own. Definitely a losing battle, but a good scientific case study of what happens with doctors who become celebrities during the Anthropocene. But seriously, bucko, your imitation of him is so funny that you should go on tour as a Peterson imitator. Of course, you would also need to bring a wife as your self-esteem bodyguard, Professor Marty. You know what I'm upset about the internet dumbing us down more that I've noticed now is when I write words that exist, that I define properly and that I use, if I don't keep an eye on how either Google or Facebook or uh, self-correct me by doing the opposite of that, is they'll change the word, like even the word proto-society. Proto it just won't go with society, a hyphen society in any place that I use as a writing tool. And that's sad because we need to admit we are very far from having healthier societies or communities than many other species. But proto turns into something else, and here, what did I write? Pathologies turn into something else. So it looks like it's dumbing us down. Like I know how to use words, and I know which ones I want to use, and if I make a mistake, I'll even write an asterisk. Here's a correction of the word that I misuse or whatever it is. I'm trying to promote the efficient use of language as a tool to possibly self-correct by using, debates where people are in the same subject with the same understanding of what words they're using. But so many things are popped to a different word that the software, the algorithms assume I meant because it's more commonly used by, illiterate people, which is 99.996% of you. So it's pretty upsetting. He's saying that, former clinical psychologist, I haven't been following the life of Jordan B. Peterson for a while because, my conclusions came in as being quite accurate when I was picking up a lot of patterns. But he's like showing stuff like this, right? And he's talking about how people that criticize others and their hate are doing it with hate. And often, it's just people filled with hate about themselves, during the Anthropocene. Anyways, when he's talking, and he's talking about how before this one, Jordan Peterson attacked a young person that had pretty much no followers on Twitter, I think. And, Jordan B. Peterson has a lot. This guy has 527,000 subscribers. I'd be surprised if during my lifetime I'd get 1,000. And it would be like people are ready for reality, and let's try to see more what we've missed about reality on Martin's channel in the meantime. But the thing is he doesn't realize when commercials come on his channel, it's gonna show the incongruence of his own ability to be a person exercising reason, because Jordan B. Peterson is so rich, he could buy advertising and focus it on the theme of his type of YouTube channel, and then he, during a critique of Jordan B. Peterson, but his greed accepts, something I don't do, ad revenue, would have a Jordan B. Peterson ad come on. And of course, Jordan B. Peterson wouldn't necessarily see this unless he goes to look for it, and may not necessarily be able to plan for it. Uh, but he'd be pretty happy with it. But he'd be happy with it as a way to show his own pathologies again, right? I got back to him. I was on his YouTube channel, or whatever it might be. And it's kind of sick. So I'm going to go see at the end of watching this what category he falls under. But again, here's something that I'm going to say. This could be part of a vlog also for developing an ecocentric worldview. So if we believe in the Anthropocene, which defines us as the species that is the anti-life equation on this planet, then of course, whether you include social justice, famine, whether you include climate emergency, it's easy to realize that there must be less and not more of our species on this planet until, if ever, and it's never, there's a chance for us to self-correct in our operating system by learning the right human thinking tools. So of course, minimizing our numbers. I had a vasectomy, and I work very much for the rest of my life to focus on helping the children of others when the generation above them is failing them at every level, not just their parents, but their teachers, their doctors, their politicians. That's something I've been documented as doing. The other thing is worldview related, right? So for us to stop harming the biosphere is to develop natural world-based worldviews. Of course, I've done many vlogs about this, and I'm trying to live this lifestyle more and more. But also, I have to point out silly things, like maybe he's capable of doing, about other types of worldviews, like supernatural worldviews or monetary paradigm magical worldviews. Now, I can't just do this in theory. I have to do it in practice. So again, you see this congruence in me. And of course, it explains why I don't have ads on my YouTube channel and how I criticize YouTube, which may be that they'll have their little revenge on me and do tweaks here and there to make it that less people see the reality of what I talk about and the congruence that I demonstrate, but it doesn't make a difference because it would be just a few views more here and there, because my theory explains that even if YouTube promoted me, if suddenly they decided this is what we need to hear about more and we're going to promote this without ad, Martin's channel, it's still people don't want to go there. They don't call it the Anthropocene because, the 1% of the rich people are causing it. It's a flaw up here. And again, I've brought the number up recently about the inability for the species I share DNA with to use the higher functions of their brain at 99.996%.
Maybe in any other circumstance that, hey, this person has shown some growth. Peterson here has clearly not thought about his position on this at all, but he was informed, changed his position. Good on him. But he's only gotten much, much, much worse since then. So this is not someone who is looking to self-improvement, who is looking to, improve in any way or be
Which is powerful
open
role
to
modeling.
different ideas, different ways people live. No, he's only closed himself off and become a much worse individual, a much more destructive individual for someone who is supposedly a public intellectual.
Okay, look at this. I'm going to go here, see what he's about. Independent political commentary, media criticism, news and culture, with an occasional comedic tinge, hosted by David. Fights for human rights, workers' rights, and equality. David comes from a background working in broadcast news, ran for political office as a Canadian Green Party candidate, and hosted an AM radio show in downtown Toronto, like he pronounces it. Through the Irrational National, he breaks down the latest political news, exposes media misinformation from all sides, and works to push society forward in a way that centers human rights and equality. Hey, I dare somebody to actually read my description of my own channel and give me their feedback on it. Hey, look at this. I put these pictures of my replies to somebody that came out of the woodwork on my Facebook, because I live a transparent life, and it keeps my mind safe, because it means please judge me by my actions and what I role model. And when you do that more and more over the years, and the transparency becomes more and more elevated, which is the opposite of what the people primates want to do. So for them, they think I'm crazy. So somebody like Jordan B. Peterson, if they knew of me, oh yes, they would be attacking my sanity. And of course, they'd be convincing people who know nothing about me very, very easily. So this person here wrote to me again recently, even though at the end I say, finally, can you please be more specific about how I'm hurting myself and what your conclusions for such a thing are based on? That was number 9. And no, number 10. Number 9 is, do you see yourself as being courageous enough so as to partake in a recorded video chat with me, perhaps one where we could demonstrate true altruism for each other and using all the skill sets that we both possess at our disposal, assuming your intentions are pure? So I didn't think I'd hear much back from that person since then. But here's something I just got recently from that person, which may be somebody that lived on a street that I lived on until, man, what was the year? Anyways, I think till I was in my 20s, maybe, or early 20s, we were still with that house. And oh, my parents separated at I was 25, so it might be after that, maybe. So he wrote, Bonjour, Martin. How is your interior, your moral today? If you seek to exchange, like with each other, that means share. It doesn't mean one way. With respect, I am listening to you. Now, I'll reply to this later, and in my reply, I'll include the link to this particular video. Uh, and I'll say, well, with a resume, here's my skill sets. It looks like you want us to partake in this altruism where we bring all of our skill sets. So my resume will show some of my skill sets to be a helper and a listener and trained in things. But what's curious about this is the email this person's using is I have a feeling it's an email that he doesn't monitor very often, meaning it's an old email from when he was at university, which is strange that that's the one they would use. That's not, for example, the lack of transparency that the common people do. It's not what I do. So that could be one of the first questions I'd ask him. Hey, I'm curious, is this your primary email, for example? And then, if it's a recorded conversation that they agree to, they would have to answer that, and this is when the true colors would show. So I wrote, Mr. V, please stop playing these games, as they will only backfire on you, and I believe they won't stop with this. So in my next reply, I'll say, let's meet either on Skype or Messenger or Zoom, and you set the time for any time on this day, and that means, like, if they really care to help me, or I could say during the weekend, then they could say, oh, I'm busy this weekend. Well, the thing is if they care, I'm pretty sure that there's 45 minutes somewhere where their ability to care will prioritize during the long weekend, right? Now, if they did agree to a conversation, that'd be one of the first questions. What email is this? But the other thing is I believe there's a little bit of a guiding hand behind this person, and I believe it's likely between two individuals, and and I'm curious to see um, if the person will notice that when I question them as a good listener, that there'll be questions that will lead to find out who that is. Oh, I just gave the person this strategy. Oh, well, we'll see. Will they listen to the end of this video if I send it to them and realize that I'll use this strategy to try to see who is the guiding hand behind them in all this?